Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. Christmas is coming, doesn't it always? I have got a very quick project. Chris and I did a storage shed clean out a couple of months ago, and in there we always find bucket loads of Christmas ornaments and figurines. In there was a handmade product. So this is a little Christmas star made out of fabric, and this one here is just made out of long strips of fabric. I pulled it apart and I had to know how it worked, so I've pulled it apart and figured out how to put it back together again. This one here is made out of 4 long strips of fabric that have been folded in half twice to have all the raw edges hidden away, and then turned into this little tree ornament. So I'm going to show you how to make this. There's no sewing involved at all today, so you're not going to do a zip, you're not doing buttons, nothing. It's Christmas time. I'm going to show you how to do it with fabric, and I'll probably reuse this one. And I'm also going to show you how to do it with some ribbon. So this is just it's a craft ribbon, a papery craft ribbon. So there's no folding of the ribbon in this. I'm just going to use a ribbon that is about 1 inch wide. Let's make some Christmas ornaments. So I'm going to pull this one apart to figure out how much fabric I need. And everything is just folded and tucked inside itself. So if I can find the entry, I'll unravel it. This piece of fabric is 3 inches wide by about 11.5 inches long. And because I know how this has been put together previously, I'm actually going to make my fabric a little bit longer, and then we can cut it back later. I've taken my strips to the iron and got rid of all of the creases that were already in there before. Now I think the length of your fabric will be determined by the thickness of your fabric as well. So if you're using a wider strip of fabric like this ribbon or this cotton tape here, you would want to have a longer strip, because the wider your strips are when they're joined together, the more fabric they're going to use up. I'm going to make some with this craft ribbon as well, and you can see that that is almost double the width of this piece of fabric. We won't be folding this in half though, we'll use it as is. So let's start with this one first. We want to fold all 4 of these strips of fabric with a 1 inch offset. So I've got the fabric folded up, and the top layer is 1 inch further back than the back layer. And we'll do that for all 4 pieces. Okay, so I have 4 pieces here. It doesn't matter which order you put them into. I'm going to have the red one at the top, that one, that, and I'll put that one here. And let's go and put one of our pieces faced down. It doesn't matter which one you do, but we want one faced down. So the short end is to be laying faced down, and all of the other 3 are going to be faced up. So I've got the folded edge here, folded edge here, folded edge on the left here, and a folded edge on the right over here. 3 of them have got the short end faced up, and the 4th one has the short edge faced down. Take these 2 ends here and place that inside the fold there, and we'll take these 2 raw edges and place that inside the fold here. We'll take these 2 raw edges and place that inside the fold of this one, and then we'll take these 2 raw edges and we'll feed that inside the fold of this one. So we're back to the beginning again. Okay, what you can do now is just gently start pulling the fabric across and down until you've got these firmly in place. So you can just give them a bit of a pull and everything's in place there. So we've got our short edges sitting at the top, the 3 short edges at the top here. We've still got the long edge around here. We can flip this over the other way. Now what we're going to do is take this long edge here and fold that down. Take this one here and fold that across. This one here and fold it up. So you can see how easy this is. And then take this one and bring that across. Now we need to secure this little one here. So if you grab a pair of tweezers and just come through the layer here, this is the first layer that you flipped forward, bring your tweezers through, grab that piece of fabric and pull that through, and then just make sure everything is nice and tight again. Now I did just go back and adjust this one because I felt it was a little bit short. I'm going to flip this back over again, and this tape here on my left, I'm going to flip it diagonally, and I'll just finger press that so that it's got a 45-degree angle going across there. Then we're going to take that same piece of fabric and flip it down again. So you've made a triangle with your fabric. So if I show you that again, we're just going to flip it down to create an angle, and then flip it down again to create another angle. So there's your triangle and the excess fabric here. I'm going to use a clip to hold the triangle in place, so I'm going to fold that together. So I've got the triangle just clipped together and the little loose flap just here. This flap needs to now be tucked away. So this section here, I'm going to bring my tweezers through, pinch the fabric together, and just pull that through until that fabric sits nice and straight. And I can remove the clip. I'm just going to leave this flap for a minute because I don't remember what I have to do with that. It might be that I'll be cutting it off. When I pulled this apart the first time, I actually took photos of every stage. So I'm working on reverse photos now to put the whole thing back together again. Now we'll do the one beside it. So I'm just going to flip that around, grab the fabric and bring that to the back. So I'm folding it away from this diagonal here. Finger press that, then we'll fold this fabric down to create a triangle again. So you can see that just there. We've still got a small flap here. And then we're going to bring this side on top of this side. So I'll fold that triangle in half and I'll clip that in place whilst I get my tweezers and pull this flap through. So just get my tweezers in there, grab the end of that fabric and pull that through. You might just want to retension this sometimes too. So that fabric is sitting nicely underneath there, and we can rotate our star again. Take this fabric, bring it underneath and out to the left to create that diagonal again. Then bring this end down to create the triangle. So you can see I'm doing exactly the same thing when it comes to shaping as I've done on the previous two. Bring the two edges together again. And this is only a very small tab. So I would think that if I'm going to do this from scratch, I would actually cut my tabs a little bit longer, and I can always trim them off later because you'd hate to have too little after doing all of this folding. Okay, we can turn this one over, flip that one out as well, and down and together. This piece is long, so they're just completely random sizes. I've got this flap from the beginning that I've got left over. I'm going to trim that off because it's clear that I'm not going to need it. So I'll just pull that back up. Now this flap here, I'll come in underneath here again. It's easier with the tweezers because my fingers are too fat to get in between the layers and pull the fabric through. And I won't need any of that excess either. turn it around, pull that away, together, down, together, and inside once again. Before I weave this little flap through, I'm actually going to trim that so that it sits behind this red section. And this is the last piece to be inserted. I'll trim that as well. And there we have our star. The only thing that's left to do is get a needle and thread, a narrow Christmas ribbon, fold it in half, and you can either use a hot glue gun or a needle and thread, and we're going to insert it just in the middle there. And there's our Christmas star. So that's done with folded fabric. It may be difficult for you to see the folds on this fabric, so I'm going to show you what I've done using this ribbon. When we have our strips of fabric sitting up and we're doing the diagonal folds, what we're doing is folding the fabric so that you've got the 45-degree angle along here, and then you're taking that tail here and folding that down so that it comes in line with this fabric or ribbon here. So you've created a triangle at the top there, and then you're bringing this side of the triangle over to meet the other side. And this flap here is the piece that gets woven in inside the fabric. Okay, so I think it's much easier to show you the layout like this. So you just flip it down, flip that down, and then fold the fabric together and then weave that section through. We're going to now create a star with 4 pieces of ribbon. I don't know what size I need because this is thicker. So I'm cutting 2 pieces of each colour, 20 inches long. This time I'm just going to fold the ribbon in half. I know I've got too much ribbon for this one, so if I fold it in half, there's no confusion as to which side has to be up or down. Let's start again. I have the fold to my left, and I'm going to feed the ends through the fold. I've got the ends here and the folds here. I'll feed the ends through the fold. The ends here will go through the fold here, and these ends will go through this fold. And then bring everything together. I feel like it's going to be very slippery with this ribbon. Okay, so I've got those woven in together and they're nice and taut. I seem to like using tape for everything. I've got magic tape on my tape dispenser here, and just to keep everything in place while I'm playing around with this ribbon is quite slippery. I'm just going to put a strip of tape across the centre there, and I'll put a strip of tape across the centre at the back as well. Take the top one, fold it down, fold across, fold up, fold across, and this end here is going to be woven in on the side there, underneath this pale pink. So just bring the tweezers through Then I can pull that taut, all those bits there, and until I need to move it, I'm just going to put a little bit of tape across here. And now we're ready to start flipping and folding as I showed you just before. Take this one on the left, we'll flip it back, fold it forward, and then fold that across. Make a nice triangle. You can clip that in place if it's easier for you. And this flap here needs to go back underneath here. Before I feed that under the dark pink, I'm going to trim off a little bit. So this flap will sit underneath this dark pink. Bring the tweezers up. And I'll hold that in place. Because this ribbon is so slippery, I'm just going to hold that in place with some tape for now. Take this one here, we'll flip it across. Flip it away and down. Together. And there's a big bit of ribbon there that we don't need. And feed the tweezers back through. And then we can turn our work around again. Take this ribbon. We're going to continue to follow that same pattern each time. So the one on the left, behind itself, then forward, fold it across, trim off any excess, flip that over so that it's easier to work with. When you're developing a pattern, it's easier to try and do the same thing. Flip it over. This way it's much easier to remember the sequence of things. Grab that one. So I think you get the gist of it. Each time you wrap something around and fold it through, you've just got to pull the tab to the right to hold everything taut again or to make it all tight again. And we want this one over on our left just so that we can remember that same pattern. And we are almost finished. I think this looks very cute with the really vibrant pinks here. And I think I'd rather it in this ribbon instead of the fabric. The fabric seems to be a little bit bulky because of all the layers. So a single layer Christmas ribbon would be absolutely ideal for this. And this is the last one. Trim off that last bit of excess fabric. Just for now, I am going to use a little bit of double-sided tape. I'll wind that around there. And I will feed that double-sided tape inside. And there are our 2 star options. So whether you're using craft paper or quilting cotton, you can make these stars very simply. No sewing at all, just a lot of folding. So there we have it, my Christmas project for the year done. I've got in early, it's done and dusted, and hopefully I don't have to do another one. It was a fun little project. As I said, when I saw this in a shed clean out, I thought, I've got to make it. and I'm glad I did. I managed to nut it out. I took a whole bunch of photos of this as I was pulling it apart so that I could put it back together again, and it's come up a treat. So there's probably a few different ways that you could put this together. I'm sure I probably chop and changed as I was doing it as well. I actually really like this one with the craft ribbon. It's very cute and nice and flat, so I think this would sit much nicer as a Christmas ornament. You can make some really big stars if you have some nice wide ribbon. Then again, you can use a really narrow ribbon and make some nice dainty little stars as well. I think this one will be a fun project for Christmas. Great one for the kids to do. After all, they all love a bit of origami, don't they? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to catch you next time. Bye for now.